Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Happy Monday to you, and happy welcome to yet another week as we are going to be taking another fresh new look at the financial market. Well, before we begin the session, as always, let's run through our daily routine by confirming that the audio and the visuals of this session is very okay. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice very clearly without distortion, please let me know in the comment section by typing in hi. So your highs will let me know that things are going quite well, and if they are not, please let me know as well so that I can do the necessary adjustments to make our experience better out here. So I would like to see some feedback, please. If you can see my screen and you can hear my voice, please let me know right in the comment section. So let's see what we have here in the comment section. All right, so let's see what we have. Okay, I can see 1422851. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. 781 3301. Thank you. 6063. Thank you very much. And I see your comment, Carrie. Thank you. Good morning to you, and glad to have you around with us this morning. So I would like to take this as a positive feedback that we are good to go this morning. So on this note, I welcome you all to yet another promising edition on the X Trend Speed Live. My whole name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to be your host, where we shall be evaluating the financial market together using simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and of course chart patterns to gain valuable insights into the historical price movement of the assets on our watch list. In fact, I'm very excited. We have a handful of assets I was able to review this morning. I'm so excited to share them with you. But of course, since today is the first trading day of the week, if you do have any assets you want us to look at, be it cryptocurrency, commodities, options, or currency pairs, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And if you can let me know in the comment section, I'll be incorporating it into our plans for this week. And of course, we shall continue to do follow up on this instrument throughout the course of the week. However, personally, I have the US All Spot, I have the USTech 100, popularly known as the Nasdaq, the GBPUSD, USD and of course the XAUUSD, popularly known as the Gold Spot, to share with you here today this morning. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you're highly welcome on board. I'm so glad and grateful to have you around. And you might be asking, what is it that we are doing here? Well, as technical traders, we come here on a daily basis in anticipation of the New York session, where we come to review. If we do have any existing position, review them and manage the position appropriately. And at the same time, anticipate the New York session by strategically positioning ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move during the New York session. So this happens on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. So I'm glad to have you around. So I encourage you to stay tuned in and in fact be part of the subsequent editions of this program, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, you are highly welcome. So as usual, the next thing we normally do is to run through the economic calendar. And for those who have been following me, you all know how important this is, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information that can make us position ourselves in such a way that we capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after this event. So right here on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact event from the economies on our watch list. And of course, we're going to be looking at the United States, United Kingdom, and of course the Japanese economy. But for today, Monday, September 11th, we do not have any high impact event to look out for. So took it a step further to include the medium impact event. And with the medium impact event, we have a couple of speeches coming in from the United Kingdom's economic docket. So the first one here is the Bank of England's Peel speech, which came in about 3 to 4 hours ago. Peel is the chief economist and Executive Director for Monetary Policy Analysis and Research of the Bank of England. At the moment, I'm here to have an idea into what the speech was all about. As the day goes by, I'm very sure we are going to be getting an highlight on what she says. Then we have another one coming up much more later in the day. That is Dr. Catherine Mann. And Catherine Mann, she is the Monetary Policy Committee member of the Bank of England. And of course, she's going to be giving a speech much more later in the day. That's like about 12 to 13 hours from now. So these speeches here, majority of the market will be looking forward to the speeches, as it will be giving us an insight into the monetary policy of the Bank of England, and as well give us an insight into the health situation of the United Kingdom's economy. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business and look at the chart from a technical standpoint. So the first asset we are going to be taking on today, as usual, is going to be the US all spot. And in fact, the market is currently in a limbo right now. So in order to have an idea of what is going on here, we would have to scale up into the higher time frame. Let's look at things from an holistic standpoint to gain insight into what is likely going to be happening here today. So to do this, we shall be scaling up into, let's go into the 4 hours time frame. So this was where I started my analysis during the weekend, while I was trying to identify or decipher where price is likely going to be heading to. So what I did here was to take into consideration the nature of price action since in the last 3 to 4 weeks in this market, and it is quite obvious that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum. Now, if you look at what has been going on here since August 28th, price has consistently found higher lows in this market, and as a result of this, I connected the series of higher lows here to give us an ascending trend line to work with. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we have ascending trend lines like this, we always want to look out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying as long as price remains above the trend line. Now, zooming into the nature of price action since the beginning of this month, it is quite clear that price action has been indecisive, confined within a range that is between the $87.50 level and the $85.50 area, to further emphasize the level of indecision in this market. And in fact, throughout the course of last week, though we were buying last week, but price did not break out of the structure at any point in time, which further emphasized the level of uncertainty in this market. Now, the question going into the new week is, will price action continue to the upside, where the breakout of the $87.50 level will be a very good opportunity to buy? Or are we going to be having profit-taking activities go on in the market to incite a sell-off that will break down both the $85.50 level and of course the ascending trend line to incite a strong sell-off? So with the scenario we have here, how do we intend to capitalize on any potential move? Now, the first thing I would like to talk about here is the potentials of the buyers. Of course, price has been very bullish in the last couple of months, so it makes quite a lot of sense that we look out for possibilities of buying more of the US oil. Now, if we look at the structure closely, you will see here that since the beginning of this month, price has been bullish, and in fact, we have an impulsive move in that regard. And following the impulse leg, price was caught within a formation right here, making this whole structure look like a bullish rectangular pattern, that is an uptrend continuation structure, where the breakout of the $87.50 level will be all we need to confirm that price will continue to climb and find new highs. So that is one way we are going to be looking at it. So at this point in time, price is right here. So we want to see if this is going to push price to the upside. Then secondly, the potentials of the sellers right here will be if price breaks down the $85.50 level, a level which also shares a beautiful confluence with that ascending trend line that we spot here. So if price breaks down this ascending trend line, of course, we want to be looking out for selling opportunities. Now, to have a better perspective into what is really going on in this market, we would like to scale down to a much more lower time frame to see how the market has been reacting to this area around the $86.50 level. Can we have patterns and structure that support that makes us to position ourselves for any potential move? Now, scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, this was what I was able to spot here this morning. Now, if we zoom into the structure here, you will notice that since the early hours of today, price action has been caught within a range, further emphasizing the level of uncertainty at the beginning of this week. Now, we saw here that price has been ranging between the $86.89 level and of course the $86.20 level to emphasize the uncertainty here. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever price action falls into a flat range like this, we want to exercise patience, waiting for either a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line here to give us an opportunity to sell. So for us to capitalize on any trading opportunity here, we'll have to remain very, very patient, waiting for the breakdown or breakout of this range to give us an opportunity to trade. So let's see how this is going to play out. So if price breaks down the 86 retest of structure, we have a sell position, and if price action continues to the downside, breaking down the $85.50 level, we will definitely be adding more position to our existing trade. Then there's another thing I did include here. Okay, let me include this one on our lower time frame. So that is for selling opportunities there. However, if price action goes on to break out of the $86.89 level, retest of that structure, we shall be looking out for buying opportunity, where the further breakout of the key level at the $87.50 level will be welcoming more buy opportunity in this market. So this is my view here on the US All Spot. So you do want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions on this asset. So let's see how this will play out in the next couple of hours, and of course we shall be back here tomorrow to review how well this asset is doing. So if you have any questions as regards to the current setup or as regards to my illustration so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. All right, so the next asset on our watch list for today is going to be the USTech 100, popularly known as the NASDAQ. And in fact, I already have a buy position running right now, so I will be taking you through what I saw that led into buying this asset and how we will be intending to capitalize on more opportunities if price action will continue to the upside. Now, the first thing I did here on the US Tech 100 chart was to take a quick look at the higher time frame, where of course we all know by now that this market has been on a strong uptrend continuation since the beginning of the year. And in fact, to buttress this, we have an ascending trend line after connecting the series of higher lows. And as you will see, this further buttresses the strength of the buyers in this particular market. Now, zooming into what has been going on here in the last couple of months, we have a couple of levels here that we shall be using to guide our decisions for this week. Now, one of the levels here is the key level, which is situated at the 15,250 level, a strong psychological area. And of course, you know how we use our key level in this community. As long as price remains above the key level, we look out for opportunities to buy the asset. And not unless a breakdown of the key level happens can we start considering selling the asset. Now, why is this level considered as a key level? Why is it so important? Well, if we go to as far back as the month of June, you will see here how this key level had played a major role in determining the direction of price action. Now, look at what happened here in the month of June. We saw here selling pressure came in as soon as price got into the key level. We saw the same thing happen here at the beginning of the month of July. And fast forwarding into the second week of July, we saw the breakout of that level. Then look at what happened here again in the month of August. We saw the breakdown retest. We saw selling pressure again. And in the last 1 month, in the last couple of weeks, we have a breakout. And during the end of last week's trading session, we saw buy pressure resume again at around the 15,250 area, further emphasizing how important this level is. And one interesting thing about this level is that it also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line. Now, the question into the new week is, will the ascending trend line and that key level be respected one more time to incite an uptrend continuation, or are we going to be having a scenario where the key level and the ascending trend line will be broken to the downside to incite a sell-off? Now, before we scale down into the lower time frame to see how participants in this market has been reacting to this area, I would like to share with you a reversal pattern I was able to observe here. Now, looking at the structure here, we saw this impulsive move right into the ascending trend line. We saw price came into the key level. We had another touch right above the ascending trend line as price was unable to break down the previous low. And when we start seeing higher lows in this market, is a sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum behind the scenes. And if you look at this structure closely, you will see that it's looking more like a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And you know, when we identify a reversal pattern like this, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline that will validate this reversal pattern. And coincidentally, the 15,250 level shares a beautiful confluence with that neckline area. And during the course of last week's trading session, we saw the breakout of the neckline. And at the end of last week, we saw price come back to retest that structure, which further buttresses that we might likely be seeing an uptrend scenario. So let's see how the market will play out, and in fact let's look at how the market has been reacting to this structure since the beginning of this week. Now to do that, we want to be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame. Now scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, and while looking at the structure during the early hours of today, this is what I was able to identify. So at the beginning of this week, we saw that the week started on a strong bullish note as price started at around the 15,288 level, giving us a situation where price remained confined within a range initially, emphasizing the level of indecision here as price was confined within the 15,323 level and the 15,288 area. Now with this scenario we have here, we should be expecting price to break out of the range to give us an opportunity to buy. So with this scenario identified, I position myself right above the 15,323 to capitalize on that move. And for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby, as you will currently be running with about 45 pips in profit. And if you are in this position, you do want to be moving your stop losses to the entry point and secure this current position. Now, well done to those who took advantage of this opportunity, and for those who had missed out on this opportunity, how do we intend to capitalize on this opportunity if price will continue to the upside? Now, the first thing we are going to be looking at is here. Now, from a technical standpoint, when price action breaks out of a key level, such as the 15,323 that we have here, we expect that some point in time price may likely come back, retest the structure to incite an uptrend continuation. Now, this lines up with this trend line that we have here to support that uptrend move. So, for those who had missed out, let's wait for one of the scenarios we are going to be waiting for is for price to come back and retest the structure, after which we shall be looking out for buying pressure or patterns that supports the idea of joining an uptrend move. Then we can capitalize on the uptrend. However, it is not all the time that price action does this, as we could have a scenario where price does not drop down but instead continue to find higher highs. And if that is going to be the case here, we have a level that I was able to identify here around the 15,375 level. So let's mark that level out on our chart. So just in case, let me mark this one, 15,375. So let's mark that one out on our chart just in case price does not drop to the downside and instead continues to find higher highs. We want to be on standby to capitalize on that move. Now look at how that 15,375 level had been a selling niche at some point. Look at what happened here in the last week Wednesday, stroke Thursday, we saw selling niche around this area, and right now price is back into that zone. And in the last 3 to 4 hours, we've begun to witness some selling pressure around that area. So will price action incite selling opportunities here just like it did last week? Well, considering the strong bullish momentum we've been observing here, and of course the reversal pattern we identified on the daily time frame, the chances that price action will break out of this level has increased. So in this regard, I will be looking out for more buying opportunities if price will break out of the 15,375. So I'll be looking out for buying opportunities here to join the uptrend scenario. Now, there are two ways to which we can capitalize on this move. Now, for those who have bought the USTech100 since the beginning of the week, you can afford to place a buy stop order since you're already profitable there. So we want to be capitalizing on the hold on a second. you want to be capitalizing on leveraging on the profit we have made so far to test waters around that area. But if this is going to be your first position, then I will encourage you to wait for confirmations to happen before jumping into that position. So we're going to be looking out for something like this breakout retest of structure to join the uptrend continuation. So that is how we are going to be buying the USTech 100 for today's trading session. However, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities here, you know how we do it in this community. We also want to keep our options as open as possible, hereby considering the potentials the sellers also have in this market. Now, what is it that we want to see on this chart that will make us change our bias from bullish to bearish? Well, we have a trend line here, which I spotted on the higher time frame, and it has been supporting the bullish momentum. So if price action breaks down that trend line to the downside, and then we begin to see selling pressure below that structure, we can as well look out for selling opportunities to join, while the breakdown, a further breakdown of the 15,288 level will be welcoming more selling opportunities in this market. And if price action goes on to break down the 15,250, remember this level right here, then we shall be looking out for more selling opportunity. But I doubt if this will happen. But let's see what happens here. Let's mark out this level, very, very important, as it will help us to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So these are my views here on the USTech 100. I hold on to a bullish bias at this point in time. Let's see how this will play out. And if you have any questions whatsoever as regards to this current setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset. So I see your comment here, 324728807. I hope you're still around. I saw your comment here asking that you need some clarifications on how to access and deposit your fund. So quick one here, just go contact the contact center. They will definitely, they are willing to be of help in that regard to give you a well informed idea of how to do these processes. And if you don't know how to go through, just go to your home page, then you will see the headphone option right there. Click on it and you will be directed to the contact center, and they will surely be of help in that regard. So try and do that, and you will be glad you did. I see your comment, Kelvin Las Palmas. Good morning to you and glad to have you around. 221080, good morning to you too as well. And in that regard, and in the absence of no questions, we shall be moving right in to the next financial asset. So the next asset on our watch list now is the GBPUSD, the cable market. And of course, we have an interesting setup going on right now, which I would love to share with you. But before we go into that detail, let's scale up into the higher time frame, where we shall be looking at things from an holistic standpoint before making a well-informed trading decisions for today. Now, on the daily time frame, this is where I started my analysis for this week, and in fact, looking at the structure, it is quite clear that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum in the last 1 year. And in fact, if we connect the series of higher lows here, we have a couple of ascending trend line that buttresses the strength of the buyers in this market. Now, in addition to that, to the ascending trend line we have here, here's my key level situated at the 1.24500 area. And in fact, if you look at this closely, you will see how this level had been a major determinant of price action since the month of April of this year. Now, look at what happened here between the month of April and the month of May stroke June, July. We saw how this level had been a major buying niche in this market, and we saw that in the month of June we saw how price sprung out of this area to incite a bullish momentum that led price to its highest point in a long time. Now, since the month of July, price crashed significantly, well, as you will see, and this brought price back into that key level we identified earlier had a 1.245, and last week trading session ended just right around that key level. And at this point, you will agree with me that we are at a crucial moment in the market right now. We are depending on how price action reacts or relates to this level will determine where our next line of action will be. And one interesting thing about this key level is the fact that it also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line we spotted earlier. Now, the question going into the new week is, will price action respect both the ascending trend line and that key level at the 1.25 to incite an uptrend continuation, or are we going to be seeing price break down both the level and the trend line to incite a sell-off? So you will see here that both sellers and buyers have the potential of swinging price in their favor. Now, for us to make a decision here, we will need to scale down to a much more lower time frame to see how the market has been reacting to the structure. Now, to do this, we shall be scaling down to, first of all, the 4 hours time frame. Now, on the 4 hours time frame, I was able to identify a setup that we are going to be using to guide our decision. And what I did here on the 4 hours time frame was to take into consideration the nature of price action since the beginning of this month. And if you look at what we have here since the beginning of the month, it is quite clear that price action had consistently found lower highs and lower lows. And if we connect the series of lower highs, we have a descending trend line to work with. And of course, this trend line emphasized the strength of the sellers in this market. But something interesting happened during the second half of last week, which might likely shift the momentum in this market. Now, we saw what happened here on Thursday and Friday last week when price got into the 1.245. We begin to see the appearance of buy pressure around this area. Now, the inability of price action to find a new low at this point is a sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum behind the scenes. And if we take it a step further, you will see how price has broken out of that descending trend line, and this will be the first time price will be breaking out of that descending trend line since the beginning of this month. Now, is this going to be a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bullish attempt? Well, we shall be answering that when we scale down to a much more lower time frame. But before we scale down into the lower time frame, I want to share a quick, simple setup here that I was able to spot. Now, if we consider the impulsive move that brought price into the 1.245, we saw buy pressure resume around that area. Price got into the 1.25 level, rejected it, and on Friday we saw how it became difficult for the sellers to break down the previous low. And when we start seeing something like this, you Can you see what I can see here? We have a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And whenever we identify the potential of a reversal pattern like this, the next thing we want to be doing is to mark out the neckline, which of course the breakout of the neckline will be validating the potency of that reversal pattern. So the neckline here lines exactly with the 1.25 area, a psychological level considering the round figure of that price. Now, one interesting thing about that 1.25 level is the fact that it also shares a confluence with that descending trend line. Now, the breakout of both the trend line and that neckline will be all we need to confirm that price action will be going bullish. Now, at this point in time, I would like us to scale down into the lower time frame to see how the market participant here has been reacting to this current market structure since the beginning of this week. Now, scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, this is what I was able to spot here. Now, look at the key level at the 1.25 and look at the descending trend line we have here. Both of them has been broken this morning to signal a potential reversal pattern. And of course, from a technical standpoint, whenever price action breaks out of a key structure such as the trend line, we expect at some point in time price will come back and retest the trend line that was broken to incite an uptrend continuation. Now, if we look at what has been going on in the last since the beginning of the week, you will see price has started the week on a strong bullish momentum, as you will see right here, giving us an impulse leg. And as soon as price tested the 1.253 in the last 4 to 5 hours, we begin to notice some selling pressure around that area. Now, will this be the beginning of a retracement phase back to retest the structure we identified earlier in anticipation of an uptrend scenario? Let me give a visual representation of what I'm talking about. So, will the sell pressure here bring price into the descending trend that was broken to incite an uptrend continuation? That is one way to look at this. Then secondly, we have our key level, remember, at the 1.2500 area and the 1.24940 area. So these are areas where we shall be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of an uptrend continuation. So what I will be doing here is to see how the market will react to that zone around the 1.25 and the 1.2494. If I begin to see buy pressure here, like double bottom structures, head and shoulder patterns around this area, then we want to be part of an uptrend continuation where the breakout of the 1.253 will be welcoming more buying opportunities in this market. However, if price breaks down this zone right here, that is, let me give a visual representation of what I'm talking about. So if price breaks down this zone, then we will be waiting for price to come into the bus stop here at the trend line, where we shall look out for buying pressure to join this bullish uptrend continuation. So what this structure simply says here is that the potential of buyers have increased at this point in time. Now, coupled with the continued buy pressure above that our key level, what this simply means here is if price continues to remain above this zone, we shall continue to look out for patterns and structures that support the idea of an uptrend continuation. So anywhere above this area, just look out for reversal patterns. It could be the double bottom structure, head and shoulder pattern, falling wedge, whichever case it may be, to be part of the uptrend continuation. So let's see how price will react with this current market structure we have here. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities in this market, remember that we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. Since the beginning of this week, price, of course, has been on a strong bearish momentum. Hence, the potentials that sellers could still take over this market is still very likely. Now, personally, for me to sell the GBPUSD for this week or today, I would rather want to see price action slice through the 1.245, taking out all the buy positions around this area to further give me confidence to be part of a bearish move. And in fact, if price break down any of the structure that is between the 1.24620 and the 1.245, price will be back within the seller's territory, which is right below that descending trend line we identified earlier. So if price action can break down the structures, then retest of structure confirming the strength of the sellers will be all we need to be part of the downtrend continuation. So that is how we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities here. However, even before price breaks down the structure, there are chances that we could see some signs that sellers will be pushing price to the downside even before the breakdown happens. And these are signs like lower lows and lower highs around this area. Sincerely, if we can continue to see lower lows and lower highs, let's look out for patterns to join the downtrend move. But personally, I will feel comfortable selling anywhere below the 1.245, which of course I doubt will happen, but if it does happen, we want to be on standby to capitalize on that move. So this is how we are going to be managing our position on the GBPUSD for today. So you do want to be marking out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So I don't know if you have any questions as regards to my illustrations, or you need further clarification in any aspect of this structure. If you do, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds as always to see if there are any questions before we move right into the last asset on our watch list for this week. All right. So I see your comments. Big Bossy, good morning. Thank you very much. 01873, good morning to you. Thank you for checking in on us. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So permit me to move right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, and that is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. So here on the gold spot, we have an interesting setup as well, always. But before we do, let's scale up into the daily time frame and let's look at things from an holistic standpoint, where we shall be reviewing what is going on the higher time frame here by using the information we gather here to make a well-informed trading decisions on the lower time frame. Now, on the daily time frame of the XAUUSD, it is quite clear that in the last 1 year, since the last quarter of last year, price action has been on a strong bullish momentum. And to further emphasize this, we have a couple of trend lines here after connecting the series of higher lows, as you will see here. So it is quite obvious that the bullish momentum in this market is very, very strong. Now, in addition to this trend line is my key level situated at the $1,915 level. Now, if we look at what has been going on here since the beginning of this year, you will see how this level had played a major role in determining the direction of price action. It was initially a selling niche at the beginning of the year, as you will see here, and since price broke above this level in the month of March, price action had remained above that zone, hereby giving me a demand zone around the 1900 area. Now you will see that since the month of March, this area had been, as when price comes into this area, we have seen how sellers struggled, resulting in buy pressure resuming to push price to the upside. So you can see how important and crucial that $1,915 level is. And of course, you know how we use our key level in this community. When price remains above the key level, we look out for patterns and structures that support the idea of buying that asset. Now, in this case scenario, price closed last week's trading session just exactly above that key level. Now, the question going into the new week is, will price respect that zone one more time to incite an uptrend continuation, or are we going to be witnessing the breakdown of both the 1915 and the ascending trend line to incite a sell-off? Now, to buttress the nature of this, I'm beginning to see an uptrend continuation pattern gradually involve in this market. Now, if we take into consideration the impulsive move that led us into this area, you will see that we have, hold on a second, you will see that we have something that looks like an uptrend continuation pattern in the form of a falling wedge. And technically speaking, whenever we identify a falling wedge on our chart, it's a very beautiful signal that we are likely going to be going bullish in this market, but we will need price to break out of the resistant line of that falling wedge, retest of structure to incite that opportunity. Now, for us to capitalize on this, how do we intend to do this? Well, we will look at that on the 4 hours time frame. But one thing I would like to mention here, due to the fundamental factors behind the scenes that is driving this market, remember last week the CPI data came in at 3.2%, hereby revealing that the inflation is increasing again. And if this continues, there are chances that the Federal Reserve will likely increase interest rate again this month. But we still look forward to some economic data that are coming in later in the week, which will be giving us clues and insight into what is happening. Now, if the interest rate hike is going to be on the table, then definitely participants will want to take advantage of the yield to bet on the US dollar, hereby resulting in a breakdown retest of the 1915. So in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity, in as much as we are seeing an uptrend continuation pattern, we are not going to ignore the potentials of sellers too. So we are going to have our minds open for any potential opportunities that will happen here. Now, scaling down into the 4 hours time frame, there is a simple setup I was able to spot here. Now, if you look at the structure closely, and in fact since the mid-month of August, it is quite clear that we have an uptrend scenario going on here. First of all, I have a trend line which I was able to spot here after identifying the connecting the series of higher lows in this market. Then another thing here is this impulsive move where price started at around the 1885 level. That was during the mid-month of August, and we saw price skyrocket into the 1950 zone. And in fact, you know what happens when price skyrocket like this. There are times where we look out for profit-taking activities, which will reflect on the chart as a retracement into structure. And look at what happened here as soon as price got into that our key level at the 1915. Of course, we identified this on the higher time frame. We begin to see buy pressure. In fact, throughout the course of the second half of last week, we saw buy pressure resume around this area with the hopes that we might likely be seeing an uptrend continuation from this area to push price up. Now, with the scenario we have here, you would agree with me that we are at a crucial point. Price is right above our ascending trend line and, of course, above our key level at the 1,915. And, of course, if price breaks out of the structure, we look out for more opportunities to buy. Now, what I want us to do right now is to scale down into the 1 hour time frame to see how the market participant has been reacting to the price level at around the 1,920, which sits around that ascending trend line. Now, when we scale down into the 1 hour time frame, we begin to see things more clearly. Now, look at the 1 hour time frame here. The new week started on a strong bullish momentum. We saw price started above the 1,916, giving us an impulsive leg to work with. Now, we saw price break out of this range between the 1,924 and the 1,916. So at this point, you see, as soon as price tested the 1,930, we saw a sharp rejection. Well, I'm of the opinion that this might likely be the retracement of this impulse leg that we see here. Now, the question now is, how far will this retracement phase go before the uptrend continuation begins? Well, we shall exercise patience here, as we shall be looking forward to see how the market would react to this trend line and the 1,924. Now, if we begin to see buy pressure here, like a double bottom structure, then we'll be keen to join an uptrend move where the further breakout of the 1,930 will be welcoming more buying opportunities. So let's see how the market will play out here today. Anywhere above or around this trend line seems most appropriate. So if we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool to make things a little bit more clearer and have a positive sense of judgment, run it through the previous impulse leg and aim at an area between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg, which will be our golden zone area where we shall be looking out for buying opportunity. So I will be labeling this area as the potential buy zone. So you do want to be marking that out on your chart right now, as let's see how the market will react to the zone. So we have a potential zone right here between the 1,924 and the 1,920 area. So if price comes into the zone and we begin to see reversal patterns or buy pressure around this area, then we are going to be keen of joining an uptrend continuation. So if price, this is still looking very bullish to me at this point in time, so let's continue to monitor price action around this area. However, if price will be dropping below the structures to the downside, then I would like to see a breakthrough of the $1,916.50 level and our key level at the 1,915 to look out for selling opportunity. In fact, a breakdown of that structure will take out all the buy positions here to confirm that sellers are likely going to be dictating the pace, at least for the first half of this week. So this is what I will be looking out for to sell the XAUUSD for this week. So let's see what happens around this area. Mark those levels out on your charts, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So let's see what happens, and I don't know if you have any questions as regards to the current setup. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we draw the curtain for today. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I take this as a confirmation that we are all on the same page here. And it's on this note, I would like to call it a day at this point. And in fact, it has been a wonderful day, a wonderful moment as we were able to treat four major assets today. We were able to take on the US All Spot, the USTech 100, popularly known as the NAVDAQ. We also took on the GBPUSD and the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And all of these assets, we were able to identify simple setups that we are going to be using to guide our trading decisions for today using simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to gain valuable insights into this market. So, and I do hope you are able to mark out those levels on your charts. Let's encourage you to remain patient. Let's allow our structures to mature before we jump into any positions here. For those who joined us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain one or two things from what we discussed here today. And in fact, I encourage you to be part of our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how things works in this community and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your own independent trading decision. So I look forward to seeing more of you tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to review how well these positions on the assets we're monitoring for this week have been doing, and at the same time strategically position ourselves ahead of tomorrow's New York session. I wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and do have a wonderful and beautiful evening. Bye bye.